Decorating Pages podcast presents Production Design Film Study. This class examines Oscar-nominated films spanning a century of cinema. Accomplished professionals in production design will explore and dissect the sets featured in these nominated films and will educate why they were recognized for the design of their time. This class features the films of 1955, and this year will be reviewed by Kim Wanup, set decorator, and Stephen Olson, production designer. So I had no idea this movie ever existed.
I didn't either. My wife knows it. I said, "Oh, Daddy Longlegs, never heard of that." She goes, "Are you kidding? Ernest Leslie Caron? Oh, it's great." I'm like,
yeah,
but
it's
he watches a lot of Turner.
It was
classic movies, so
I love Turner TCM. I'm always watching stuff on there, but I've never got into this one. And I watched this last. I think this was the last thing I watched too. I don't know if I've ever seen a Fred Astaire movie all the way through. I know I've seen bits and pieces, but I will admit that. But production designer Lyle R. Wheeler and John DeCure, and set decorators Walter M. Scott and Paul S. Fox. The snippet for this is: a wealthy American has a chance encounter with a joyful young Frenchwoman and anonymously pays for her education. She writes letters to her mysterious benefactor, nicknaming him from the description given by some of her fellow orphans. Just for me, the movie is great for like half of it, and then it lost me. Story-wise, set-wise, everything is a jewel. Everything is fantastic in this, in my opinion. This office, his office is in a museum that he owns. So he's he's so rich. Totally mid-century. He likes to play the drums. Look at that, fireplace. Just even though it's, on the brown and darker tones, it's still bright. They obviously have to design for him to be able to do dances in the middle of his room. So that's always a part of their design in this. But the wood is fascinating to me. And look, the guy sitting down there goes into the other office. It's but weirdly, you really don't see the museum that it's connected to till the end. So
you get little glimpses.
You get little glimpses, and then finally at the end they show a wide. It's crazy. More of his office. Those panels in the back, I guess showing that he has some art back there. But yeah, fun. So he's going to France for something. The car breaks down. He goes, "Oh, let me go over to this farmhouse over here," which is a mansion, and ask and see if they have a car for us. Well, before that, look at this guy's lamp. This guy's desk lamp is fantastic. That's my favorite thing in the whole movie. And then you see the outside. I think I double played this picture, but you see a little bit of the museum here. But so they go to this mansion.
Oh, wow.
And it's an orphanage. And they have all the fabric that they're making the kids' clothes out and around, and sewing materials. This huge
columns made out of clay, it looks like.
Yeah, right? The backyard is so ridiculous, but look at the work of the railings and all. It's a giant tree back there that
This is the backyard of
the orphanage.
Wow.
And she's feeding them, she's teaching them songs, and he sees her through the window and he's like, "Oh, this is fascinating." So he wants to adopt her. Now, I looked up, in real life, he's 55. I don't know what age they're trying to make him in the movie, but she's 18.
Yeah.
So the story starts to break a little for me there. But so he goes to his French diplomat friend. He's like, "Look, I want to adopt her." And they're like, Whoa, buddy. You can't adopt her. You can benefactor her. You can't adopt her." So, all right, fine. It'll be anonymous. She'll never know who I am. It's fine. But look at this scene. They're in this office for a minute. I mean,
It had to be. What studio was this? Paramount, did you say?
This is
I'm just,
oh, I have my note.
I
This
said Lyle
is
Wheeler was the production designer.
um
Where's Lyle Wheeler? Because he was the studio head.
details. 20th Century Fox.
Oh, it's Fox. I'm just thinking that it had to have been a set that was left over from some,
Probably,
you
yeah.
know, historical drama that they had done,
Well,
and they did it up. There's no way that they would build this whole thing for one.
Look at that
scene.
rug. Look at that rug. It's gigantic.
Ah, the studio system.
Yeah. They went over to the prop house, got all that. Look at that mantle. We're still renting that mantle somewhere. They show a little bit of her in the orphanage putting the kids to sleep before she finds out. Well, she finds out she's going to leave. Then she's all happy laying in bed. But look how gorgeous that shot is of her in bed.
Yeah.
It's I mean, and the doily up there, like the little things that they have. Her little light and little vase. So she goes to the best designed sorority house I've ever seen. I think it's a college in Boston, supposed to be. And so he flies her over to New York. She shows up first day. Look at this. It's the railing up top, the staircase.
Love it. Yeah.
Gigantic. They don't even do any dancing. Well, they kind of do a dance, but not really. Like, it's huge. It's huge. It's perfectly white, you know. It's impressive. And then, I mean, for the scene and everything, she needed to be impressed. Like, you know, small fish, big pond. Her dorm room is fantastic.
Again.
Yeah. They give her the pink room. That pink room in the back becomes her little corner, her little bedroom. And he sends trunks full of clothes because really she just comes with that tiny suitcase in the bottom. And then he sends her all these clothes. Like, it's a fantastic girl scene of like, oh my God, look at all these dresses you got. And so it's sweet. It's still sweet here. It's still sweet.
Right.
Then, so she's writing letters for like 4 years. She's writing letters. He never writes back. The secretary gets all the letters. His lawyer says, don't answer him, don't answer him. He doesn't need to be bothered with this. He forgets, I guess, that he's sponsoring her. Because his only stipulation of, I'm going to give you this, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I want you to tell me how you're doing. So he asked for correspondence, but then never checked up on it. That's how aloof this billionaire is. So the roommate of the French girl is Fred Astaire's niece. Like he gives to this college or whatever, and it just so happens his niece is her roommate. Well, he goes to a dance to finally like check up on her. He starts dancing with her. Fantastic dance. You know, look at and then the set of this, like the ABC and then the screen panels and just the color that they gave off of these walls and the shadows that it created, I thought were great. And it's so simple, but it's so impactful of like, you know, school dance. So that's Fred Astaire's sister-in-law. This is one shot, one telephone call. They gave her, it doesn't even look like they gave her walls. It looks like fabric behind her.
Draped fabric, a dresser, side table.
Yeah. This
chair.
Is like insert shot. Hurry up. You got like half a day. Go dress it. But he, at this point, I don't think he had even told her that he's the benefactor. He brings the French girl to New York. The top scene is them dancing in her hotel room. Like, gigantic sets, I would say.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're doing all these dances.
Yeah, you gotta dance.
So
These were wonderful.
These are fantastic. So here it takes a turn. She falls in love with him. She met him one day, right? She kind of figures out, well, she falls in love with him. So then she starts having these dream sequences about him.
Dream ballets.
And so,
dream
so these are all her dreams. And this color and the lights and the everything is so imaginative. I just adored it. Like you were watching a play all of a sudden. And it's what is it? It's in CinemaScope, right? Or yeah, it's in CinemaScope. Everything is shot wide and
Yeah.
beautiful.
Fantastic.
And like you were saying before, like the forced perspective, like even the chairs are like the legs are too long on one side, and
Yeah, everything's a little tweaked, torqued.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um, the,
dreamscape.
this ballet thing where they hung the dresses with that fabric hanging in the back, and he's up in this, crazy, almost Seuss like balcony watching
Box.
her.
Yeah, look at that.
That was all great. The colors are great. Then he shows up on this street and they go shopping in these windows, dancing together. And this, I think the top left is my favorite. Her, like, the door, she was the ballerina scene and she's going into another scene and she just walks. All she does is, like, ballet walk to that doorway. And then there's this mime scene where she's dancing, and as she's dancing, the fans come on and that Rio disappears.
It gets blown away. Yeah.
It's fantastic. It is. The dream sequence for this is fantastic. And then she goes, now you get to meet your benefactor, and then she realizes, the man I met is my benefactor. So there's his office. And then this is the museum. Look at this. Look at this big, huge
A museum with an Austrian drape in it.
Yeah. It's like... So I'm very glad I watched this. I think that this has made an impression on me, like visually, definitely. The weirdo story of like the old man still, creeping on this little French girl is weird to me, but whatever. I like Pretty Woman too, so whatever.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah. I really enjoyed watching it, and I think that's also fun too because I knew nothing about it, and you just happen upon this gem. So I liked it. I would definitely say that this is something to watch, to be inspired for.
Cool.
Yeah. Guys and Dolls. Did that live up to the hype?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's clearly one of the big movie musicals coming off of Broadway. I feel connected to this in a way, two ways.
Mm-hmm.
Oliver Smith was my design teacher.
Wow, that is awesome.
He would have been close to 70, late 60s, I think, when he was teaching, and I was in grad school in the 80s. And he talked about his work in film, which was pretty limited. I think he production design on Bandwagon, the musical Numbers, and he did this, which he did not do. He was a guy who did dozens and dozens and dozens of Broadway shows. He was the Broadway designer. He had, I think, done probably already at least 20 musicals on Broadway by the time he was asked to do this in 1954 or whatever. But what he told us when we were in design school and we were studying, he was teaching theatrical design, and he would say, I know a lot of you guys want to go into film, and if you do that, because I have one piece of advice: take the money and run. He goes, it's just a ruthless business. The designer has no control. And
yet here you are, Steve.
He absolutely hated the film business. And there's another theatrical production designer, will come up in a minute, on Picnic, who was a colleague of, in the same year. But so Oliver hated this process. Ugh. It's interesting though that he didn't do Guys and Dolls, but he was asked to do the movie of it. And Milziner, who did Picnic, did Guys and Dolls, but was not asked to do it. Or he was asked and he didn't, because he hated it too. So we'll get to that later. But uh, yeah, let's look at some of these.
Yeah.
I found another sketch picture that I didn't send you because I just found it last night, and it was actually Oliver's little sketch rendering of the mission scene. And now, have you seen this movie?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So it's Nathan Detroit is runs a crap game. Frank Sinatra, Nathan Detroit, he runs a crap game, and there's a big gambler in town, and he wants to play craps, but the heat is on. The cops are watching them. They won't let him. He knows that these guys all play craps and it's illegal, and so they're shutting them down everywhere. And so he's trying to find a place to play for this hold a crap game. He's told his girlfriend Adelaide that he's not going to do that anymore, that he's going to go straight. But he's a bum. This is all based on the Damon Runyon stories, and they all talk funny and they have funny names. So there's like Harry the Horse. There's like everybody's a weird name, and they use weird lingo, slang, and so that's all the way through. So it's all very stylized. It's very non-realistic. The Broadway show is very non-realistic. So you see, this is what I was going to point out. If you go back to the picture right before, so that's the backdrop. That's Times Square. It's a painted backdrop with all these neon lights attached to it.
Right.
And it's very stylized and unrealistic.
Right.
But we have all these cars, which are very realistic, driving through massive set built on a stage.
Yeah.
With all these cars driving and people in Times Square, and then they would go into buildings on this built thing, and they would shoot inside of the Mission or the Lindy's restaurant or the barbershop. So it's just kind of weird because there's parts of this that are trying to look realistic, but then you see he's walking out of the Mission at night, and that backdrop doesn't have its lights on.
Right.
It looks terrible. It looks like work light.
Well, yeah, the funny thing was when you sent me the pictures and you said, oh, I want to show some things that don't work. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh. And then I looked at these pictures, I was like, oh. Because I think sometimes when you watch movies, you're like, oh, that's supposed to be so intentional. Maybe I don't get it. But this backdrop stops in the middle, like it's black.
It's because...
And still there's a wet down. But they still have a wet down.
I will say that I'm positive that Oliver Smith had already left.
Left for the
gone.
day. Right.
He probably showed up. He did a bunch of sketches. He had a Joseph Wright, who's the art director on credit, had done a ton of movies. He had done Oklahoma, Porgy and Bess, Flower Drum Song. He knew what he was doing, but Oliver was trying to bring this Broadway theatrical feeling to it. I think it doesn't work. I think the theatrical backdrop thing doesn't work. And I think what happened here, this is when he said the production designer has no control because the cinematographer is going to light it however he wants.
They're going to do whatever they want. Right.
And that's what happened here in this image is like, first of all, it's the city that never sleeps. The lights never go out.
Right.
On Times Square. But, Hollywood cinematographers have this thing. If it's a day scene and you're outside, you cannot have a light on. You can't, because if the lights are on, it means it's night. That's like this rule. And so he comes out of the, 2 a.m. or whatever time it is, he leaves the Mission, and
even the street lights are off.
It just looks bad.
Well, there's a wet down. What are you wetting the street down for? There's nothing to reflect.
There's some taxi drivers just hanging out, and it's wet. I don't understand. So that's what doesn't work, because then, in this, the whole movie starts out with this very long dance sequence, which is fantastic. Choreography is brilliant, and it's this great storytelling. You follow these people. So flip to the next picture. Well, this is in the Mission. This looks like, this is Times Square. Go back to the Times Square. Yeah, so there you can see you've got a realistic sort of drugstore or whatever. There's a little newsstand, which is kind of hokey.
Yeah.
There's a subway where they're coming out of. I mean, it's kind of a mix of. And now here's that backdrop again. We're in the middle of Times Square, which is
But
this is
it's
all
still
theatrically
black.
done.
You still see the bottom of it.
You see the bottom of it because it's supposed to be a backdrop. It's supposed to be in the background, and they're shooting like right in front of it. You can see the wrinkles. It's hokey, but even in this top picture, you can see on one side there's a very kind of realistically done drugstore,
Right.
and then on the other side there's a backdrop which is clearly like theatrical, and
Yeah, it's a weird mix.
they don't meet. It doesn't
No.
it doesn't work, and I don't think. I mean, I think this is what Oliver was said. Like they're going to do whatever they want. They're going to shoot. Like in in theater, you have control over it. You know, because you're giving the audience is sitting in one place, and your set is on the other side, and you are controlling how we look at the set. And the backdrop can work from one perspective, maybe, and will look like it's going off into the distance. So it'll look fabulous, and it's part of a theatrical world. When you do a backdrop like that on a show and you shoot it from the side and you show that where you've got a black ground row hiding the bottom where the light, it's just wrong. It's just, he was probably rolling over. He was cringing when he saw this. I'm sure.
You would never see that.
That's how it's supposed to be seen.
Right.
In that top. That's how it's supposed to be seen. And with bustling crowds and people, and that's the choice angle that you want to see this backdrop, and it's how it works.
And these are lit differently. Like one's darker, and it looks fine. Like I know it's hokey or whatever, but it's like
one's night, one's day. Yeah, sort of. But it's they wanted the theatrical look, and they got it. But then it wasn't necessarily always shot
right
that way. It wasn't shot. They, the DP decided he would shoot it however he wanted to shoot it. So flip back to that. Go back there one more. Where was that mission scene?
Yeah.
There it is. So they go into the mission, and I did find there was a sketch on a website of Oliver's sketch for this mission scene for this movie, and now to be fair, it was very pale and sort of colorless, but he's a theatrical designer, and he designs sort of when we do theater shows, and you design the look,
right,
the view for the audience of the set, and the set doesn't have four walls, right, because it's
right
in theater. So we're looking now at him, and it looks like he's against a fourth wall. It looks like it's a wall that was just thrown in.
Right. Pipe down the center to hide the seam.
To hide the seam, and it just looks compared to everything that we just looked at in those black and white movies, with, this just looks like it wasn't, like that is not a look that he would have wanted. It's not an angle, I don't know. I think that there was a quote from Cedric Gibbons, who ran the MGM art department, and he said there was a New York theatrical designer had done some sketches for a show. He said, well, how do you want me to film this? How am I supposed to shoot this? And the designer's response was, well, that's your business.
No.
You figure out how to do that. And I'm not going to tell you how to do that. And I think his feeling was, they're going to shoot it however they want it. I don't have control over it. I hate it. So it very often didn't work out with the Broadway people
coming over
to work in film. They weren't welcomed. They were told, you have to, you can't draw anything. You have to join the union. We'll get into that on Picnic a little bit. Let's look at some more pictures.
But even look at this. Like, they have the full curtains. They're not. You can't even shoot through them. And then they put the defix on the glass on the door and side things, so you couldn't see out either. Like, they're trying to hide something. They knew to hide something there.
I think that curtain look was it was part of the
The
original
cafe.
look of the mission on Broadway, the Broadway show. So it was kind of the characteristic, and it was also in his sketch.
Mm.
And then, another reason, I said there was a couple of reasons why I'm close to this production. The other reason is I was the associate designer on the Broadway revival with Nathan Lane and Peter Gallagher back in '92. So I lived through a whole Broadway staging of this.
Did you watch this for reference?
I didn't. I had never seen it, and I didn't see it until much later. We researched the original production, Broadway production, Joe Milziner production, and Tony Walton was the designer, and it was sort of a Valentine to the way Broadway musicals used to be. Very backdrops, heavy scrims, translucent backdrops, dye painted drops, wonderfully lit and super brilliant colors, lots, and very theatrical. Nothing was realistically created. There was no straight lines. It was very whimsical and bold colors. And so that was my sort of life with Guys and Dolls, and it went on for quite a while because it was at least a year, more than a year, working on that and like the touring productions and everything. So I kind of lived and breathed it for a year, and then I saw this movie and I was like, what the F? So
well, it's a good thing maybe you didn't research this movie.
Yeah. I mean, I was the associate designer, so I was really taking the sketches from the production designer and turning it into I was the art director,
right?
But we did go to the Lincoln Center Library where they have all the Milziner sketches, and we researched all of that for this. So let's go. This was the opening part of the opening number, which is very stylized choreography, and it was really wonderful. It's very theatrical. I don't think it necessarily works with this kind of real it's just me. It's just me in my theater. I kind of feel like the realistic backdrop, movie theater, a department store. It's just odd.
Well, anyway, it just is kind of like, look, we're 2-dimensional over here, but we're 3-dimensional over here. Like, why don't we just all be the same dimension?
This is wonderful. This looks very much, there's this whole opening number, and it kind of all segues into these 3 guys around the newsstand reading their racing forms, and they start singing the Fugue for Tin Horns. I got a horse right here, and it's wonderful. And you see the brick wall, and it's kind of red, and it's nice. But then there's another shot. This is all part of the opening number. It works in a way. That all works. It's really, the choreography is great.
I know. The bummer is I don't have these in. I don't know the order of this movie.
This barbershop kind of bummed me out because it was just bland. It's just kind of grayish, and then all the barbers are in white, and then all the people getting their,
their suits.
And this, there's a little bit more color here, but this is where where Adelaide meets up with him, and he's trying to get Marlon Brando, Sky Masterson. He's trying to bet him something stupid to try to win $1,000 in a bet with him, because he knows that Sky Masterson will bet on anything, and he's loaded.
It's junky.
But, yeah. And then this is where Adelaide works. She works at the Hot Box, and it's a nightclub, and she does the they have and it was a new number that they wrote for this movie. And that was it's one of your pictures that you have, the cats, the cats on the they're it's like a cat scene, and it's called like Pet Me Pretty or something. I don't know. It's there's the barbershop, and then down below there's the picture of the cats.
Oh, there's the cat. Oh, that's what you meant. Yeah,
the cats and the rooftop, and those are the backup singers and dancers, not Adelaide. But this is fun. So here's the thing: the musical numbers in this, I think, work really well. There's this one. There's the
Did I
uh,
pass something? Wait.
no,
This is
that's
the nightclub,
well, up
right?
in the upper scene, the upper picture. That's Havana.
Mm.
Sky takes the gal from the mission. The bet that Nathan gets him to do is he goes, I bet that you cannot take any gal with you to Havana. I name the gal, and you won't be able to take her. And he convinces the Salvation Army gal to go down to Havana with him for dinner
Okay.
because he's rich. So he's going to fly down to Havana, have dinner, and then fly her back.
Does
And
Marlon Brando sing in this?
you could call it that. You could call it that. It was. They say that Astaire, they were feuding through the whole thing because Astaire wanted the Marlon Brando role, but Brando was a bigger star. And so what they say is Brando is such a good actor that you think he makes you think he's singing well. And Astaire called him Mumbles.
Well, eventually.
Called him Mumbles, yeah. But
I love that
scene in
tufted.
Havana is great because he gets her drunk. She orders milk, and he orders her dulce de leche, which is milk with rum in it. And he gets the girl drunk, and there's a big dancing number. It's really wonderful. So those scenes kind of really work. There's rich color, and it all is cohesive, and the dance number was fantastic.
There's texture on the wall. It's
texture and everything. Down below in the nightclub, that really worked.
I love that tufted blue wall.
Tufted blue it was a surprise to me, but it's wonderful. Let's see what's next. And that's
a restaurant.
Back
right?
to the don't like. Just didn't like it.
Yeah.
It just there's something really like Pepto-Bismol-y about it. It just was like not my color preference, and to me.
Yeah.
I didn't get it, but it's supposed to be a Times Square
little diner.
Yeah, and
this
the upper thing, that's Adelaide in her dressing room, and I'm trying to remember why Sky is in her dressing room. I don't remember that. Why don't I remember that?
Well,
he's meeting up with Nathan, and she realizes you're back into gambling.
Oh,
down below is the sewer scene.
That looked fun.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. I mean, the set that they do it's a huge version of sort of the Broadway set. Way bigger. It's probably more dancers in this, and just it was vast. This is Sky showing up. The only place they can get to play this crap game is in the sewer. Yeah, they go down a manhole cover. They lift up there's like a construction thing, and they go, it's like, where's the crap game? And he goes, right here. And they climb down into the sewer, and all the guys are there waiting for Sky to show up. And it's a good time for Nathan because the big gambler from out of town, who's sort of in the middle on the yellow, has just told Nathan that he's gonna roll with his own dice, and he's gonna roll directly against Nathan. Nathan's the house, so on every roll he gets a chunk of it. So he's the only guy who's been making a ton of money,
right?
And the big guy from out of town is out of cash, but he's gonna play on a marker, and he's got his own dice, and the dots have been removed. But don't worry, I remember where they were.
Right.
And so, of course, he wins every hand, every roll, and he takes all of Nathan's money, and then Sky shows up. And then there's the big dance number with Sky. And okay, so this is these two pictures together. So this is the upper picture. You see the Salvation Army band is playing on the street, and they're trying to find sinners and get people to donate and whatever. And so there's a lot of the cars, to create.
And the color of the cars is great too.
It's great. It's all wonderful, and the backdrop, and they've got some construction, which there's always construction in New York. I don't think it's particularly a good thing to have on a set. It doesn't really look. It
never reads right. It just looks like someone left a ladder. I have
even if you paint it red, it still doesn't look. It might look real, but it doesn't. Anyway, the problem is it's that whole fourth wall flipping, and you look back over her, and there's this 60 feet of brick wall
Oh my gosh.
with nothing
That's
on it.
that's the reverse?
That's the reverse of that other shot.
All right,
So
I'm disqualifying this film. This is
I look at it and I go, there is like if
Oh yeah, the van
or just
with
be
the crate.
vomiting if you saw that, because that is not a shot that he designed. That is not a
That
a
makes
look he
no
designed.
sense whatsoever.
There's not even a handbill or a poster or a painting. It's just 60 feet of gray brick wall. I mean,
Who?
what? And
That's
so that's when he says, take the money and run. You have no control. That's the kind of thing they're talking about. Is like you would have to be on set every day of shooting, and for them to go, now we're going to shoot this way, or even in pre-production say, then when she's on the street and they're doing that number, we're going to reverse.
Yeah, we're gonna
and we're gonna shoot
turn it
this
around.
way.
But
And he's like, oh,
don't you think that that is just an effect of the system that they had with the art department back there, of having so many movies turned out with the same designer or same, that you
Very
couldn't
likely.
you
Yeah,
couldn't be
very
on the
likely.
set, or you had to surrender things because you had 7 other films that were starting next
Yeah.
week.
and they spent a lot of money on this. This was hugely expensive to build
Oh, yeah, let me see.
all of these sets, and at some point you have to stop. But this just looks like a mistake.
Yeah.
Looks like a mistake. Like at the last minute they said, now we're going to shoot the shot of her. But I mean, this is this. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So
5.5 million. They spent 5.5 million on this.
Yeah, well, and you can see where
Yeah.
a lot of it was spent. But
It's a lot of dressing. It's a
it
lot. It's a
wasn't
big
spent-
build.
wasn't spent on this
No,
reverse
it
shot.
wasn't
That's for
spent
sure.
on that wall.
And so I was being picky, but that's
No, I mean, I didn't watch it, but now that you said it, I just thought, oh, this is a different scene or something of her singing, and it's a horrible wall. But I didn't realize it was. I didn't realize it was the reverse.
with everything that's going on in that Times Square, for them to choose that,
Yeah,
set up the scene in such a way that would be an angle, doesn't make sense.
No.
And that's why Oliver hated the movies, because you didn't have control.
Oh.
And they assigned you an art director, so you were like a double. You were like the visiting person,
What,
and
what,
the director wanted you there, and that's probably the only person who wanted you there, is the director.
What I do notice in these night scenes in this space is like the one light, but the whole room is lit, and it's a China hat. That would never fly now, but yeah. I mean,
What else? Is there another picture? Or is it?
yeah, the
next?
wedding. I think this.
Oh,
is
that's the
last
wedding
one.
at the end. Is a big double wedding, which is huge crowds, wonderful. It's I have no problem with that. I just, it's just and Sky marries the mission lady, and Nathan marries Adelaide. It's wonderful.
It all works out in the end.
I have to say, I did watch this not 3 times, 2 times all the way through, and then I watched the third time. I just watched scenes, but I warmed to it a little bit on the second viewing. I went into it not wanting to like see all these things that I didn't like about it, and the second time I really enjoyed myself a lot more, because overall, like, removing those things that I sort of didn't like, it's really kind of wonderful. There's great numbers.
The costumes look great. All for me,
costumes are fantastic, and all the musical numbers are fantastic. The big musical numbers. It's kind of great. So
definitely,
I can't. But there's just a few things that I just didn't like, and I think there's cinematographer choices. Not having the lights on the backdrop when he leaves the mission, shooting a blank brick wall, and
Yeah.
that's it. I mean,
There's some
60
pretty
feet,
big offenses in this movie, though, as for good
not
scenes.
just just completely stand out. And then just shooting the backdrop at a really odd,
Yeah.
unflattering angle doesn't really make sense. And I kind of think all those cars, to me, all those real cars just take away from the fantasy world because they're not
Yeah.
cars. Those cars aren't fantasy. They're painted nice colors, but this is a very fantasy world kind of.
Yeah.
And there's no cars written into the script, by the way. So to have them, it's a Broadway show. Like,
Right.
you know,
You
there's
just
no
assume
car.
they're cars. You don't need to see the cars. But, I mean, I
But
guess,
they built Times Square, so you kind of
yeah,
have to
you
have
had to.
cars if it's real, but it's not real. It's just hard. It's a very
They didn't pick a
stylized.
line and go with it. To
They
me,
danced all over the line.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They
You're
just,
right.
so.
Well, guys, all right. Well, let's take it down a notch and go to Love is a Many Splendor thing. Lyle, production designer Lyle Wheeler and George Davis, set decorator Walter M. Scott and Jack Stubbs. A widowed Chinese English doctor falls in love with a married American correspondent in Hong Kong during China's communist revolution. Not a fan of this movie. Let's just I was like
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know. But I like some of these sets a lot. Um one of the notes I read is in one of the most classic examples of camera point and view editing, the hilltop love scenes were cut between Hong Kong in one direction and a hill at Fox Movie Ranch in Malibu. Um, and
wow.
the same ranch was used for both the film and television series MASH. So that's I'll show you the hilltop, but the
Oh,
one view is the Hong Kong, and then when they're up like sitting on the grass, it's Malibu. So, they did a lot of exterior shots, which I thought was great, and because I really love seeing these period films, and when they do show the period of real cities, it's
right.
it's like
Yeah.
it's so fascinating, and the cars and what people are wearing and the signage, and I mean, it's so dense here.
It's dense. It's wonderfully
Yeah,
dense.
yeah, and that
It's
is realism. That's not a
realism.
set.
Yeah.
They can't. Um, there's fantastic scenes where it's real. They're on the water, and then they're not. Obviously, they've got this backdrop, and the lighting is perfect now, and they're having their intimate conversation. Um, Cute little restaurants, and then the backdrops I feel aren't cheesy in this movie. Like it's weird because I know like this top photo, I know this is a set, but the backdrop, people are moving around. Like it's almost like a film back there. Like they're
Well, it could have been a rear
projecting.
projection. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Like
projecting.
they did the driving scenes,
Right.
and they do that. They do it in a little in To Catch a Thief too. So, like, that's either a backdrop or it's a rear projection because there's probably lights rippling on the water.
Yes. Yeah, that's moving too. So I appreciate their use of that in this film. I didn't find it cheesy or anything. I mean, it took me out because I'm looking for it, but
It's using the volume.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
the big LED screens, but it's
yeah,
just better. We do it with better quality now, but it there's really no difference between having a rear projection screen outside the window, so you have things moving in the backdrop, and having an LED ball.
yeah. This it's 1949 Hong Kong is what they're portraying. She is a doctor, and again, just a plethora of research in these, like the sheets hanging from above, the furnace in the middle of the room, the weirdo sink in the middle of the room, and but simple. It's total simple. She's in like a clinic, and this little girl comes in, and she winds up adopting her. It's really adorable. She basically lives at the clinic. This is her little room, and she is actually comes from a wealthy family, but is a doctor at this clinic, so she's taken it down a notch. I thought all of these details were great. His apartment is clean and mid-century, but even that, well, I guess it's not mid-century because this is 49. Huh.
Yeah, but it has that
30s.
sort of 40s modern,
yeah.
kind of, that lamp is fantastic.
Yeah. And I don't think I got a bigger, I don't remember if I got a wider shot. The bottom is like the rich people who donate to the hospital. They have like parties, like donation parties. But then in this other doctor's, in his room, he's got all these fish tanks, which they shoot through, which was great.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they're in that room twice. At her family's house, I believe, they have this beautiful glass. Look at that glass backlit bar.
Back behind the bar. Love it.
I mean, somebody should steal that idea. It's like rippled glass or something. They got a great airplane. Look at this airplane. They go swimming, and they swim over to her friend's house. Her friend's house is right off of the water, and they got a great setup there. The friend's house is fantastic, but this is actually her family. This goes back to her family's house. Just the screens and the tile floor and the immense detail to get. She's Chinese, I believe, or yeah, she's Chinese, but the clinic is in Hong Kong. I just the putting in these different cultural things, I thought were fantastic. These like panels on the door, again, like shooting through those panels in the wall. There's some really interesting sets, I would say. I was more into these sets than the story.
Yeah.
They're in love, and he goes away because it's wartime, but he goes to meet her family, and this is like her family's house. And he has to get a divorce. He's still married. He has to get a divorce to be with her. This is the friend's house that has the outside that I showed you. This beautiful panel on the back, and then that lit soffit up top I thought was fantastic.
It's like Hollywood meets Hong Kong.
Yeah, it's the lamps are great. It's fun. They're good looking sets. This gigantic restaurant that they did for like one scene.
Yeah.
So at the end she's at her friend's house, or I don't know whose house this was, actually, I forget. But she's in this bedroom at the end, like writing a letter. It was very sweet. But even like, see how the window in the back where that lamp is, which I think they used that lamp like 4 times in this movie, but
the leaves pushed up against the translucent glass.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a little odd. What's out the other window?
The other one is a backing.
Bad backing.
Yeah. But the ocean is so high.
Oh no.
Yeah. But there you go. It was fine. I mean, I understand it was maybe a different type of decor for viewers to look at and to vote on, but I don't know. I wasn't really into the story, and the sets were the only thing that really kept me watching it. So, nicely designed.
It hopped around a lot. Looks like there's a lot of sets.
Yeah. I mean, they went back and forth to a bunch of these, but yes. But probably this last one they didn't go back to very much. But yeah, I mean, for the time, I don't know. I don't know why this was nominated. Because I want to talk about what wasn't nominated after we're done.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Great.
Just for a minute, but it's kind of mind-blowing. So Picnic, our winner, Production designer William Flannery, and set decorators Joe Melsner and Robert Priestley.
So here's a correction on that,
Is that
and
wrong?
apologize. Joe Melziner is the production designer. William
Is
Flannery was the art director.
you,
Because Melziner was the production designer of the Broadway play, and he was brought out to do this, to do the film. The director was Josh Logan. Yeah, Josh Logan
oh wow.
brought him out, said, "I'm doing the movie," and he'd done a lot of Broadway plays. Josh Logan in a lot of movies, and he brought him out to do that. But why don't you do your little your, what do you call it? Your summary?
Just the summary of what this is
Yeah.
about. It's
Yeah, what it is.
emotions are ignited among the complacent townfolk when a handsome drifter arrives in a small Kansas community on the morning of the Labor Day picnic. I mean, the poster alone is tantalizing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's very sexy and raw, and sort of it was part of this whole naturalism feel, they speak in very naturalistic ways, and the staging is, it's all the look, the scenes, everything, but it is raw, like energy and sex. So he's this old. He's not older. He kind of older. He's supposed to be a college kid. So Holden was 37, and he just got out of. He went to college with a buddy his buddy whose dad owns the grain, is like a big grain industry person here, and he's like down on his luck. He's kind of a drifter, and he goes and hooks up with his friend Cliff Robertson, and he wants to get a job, with his company, his dad's company, and he doesn't have a cent. He's broke, but he's super sexy, and he goes and he does odd jobs for this lady, and this lady lives next door to Kim Novak, and her little sister, and he starts working in this lady's backyard, and he takes his shirt off. So now he's all sweaty and he doesn't have his shirt on, and then he comes over and he starts talking to the little girl, talking to Kim Novak, and she realizes that the guy he knows, Andy, I think his name is her boyfriend. She's dating this guy. She's dating the son of the richest guy in town, and they're not poor, but they're not rich. The mom's making her a dress.
So the top is the rich guy's house.
That's the rich guy's house, and that's him running to see, hey, I forget his name, Hal. Hey, Hal, what are you doing here? And they're just hitting golf balls out in the front yard, as one does.
Oh yeah.
And then in the bottom picture, that's mom making a dress for the Labor Day picnic, and they're hoping that she gets chosen as Queen of Niwala, which Niwala is Halloween backwards.
Oh.
Ever. And so mom makes her this dress, and if she gets chosen the queen, then she comes on Halloween. There's another big thing, and she's the Queen of Halloween, or Niwala. There's her little sister. So they go to the picnic. Alan or Andy, or whatever his name is, Alan, I think, goes with Kim, and then Hal goes with the little sister, escorts the little sister to the picnic. This is just like during the day. They go swimming, and he gets to show off his diving prowess, and all the guys there are jealous of him. Huge, so many background people.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So it's
a county fair.
Yeah, well, they shot most of this movie in like in the little towns around Wichita, and like 5 different towns they went to get different aspects to, like, I guess where the houses were, and where the train is, the train yards, and where the grain yard. They go to the top of a grain elevator, and so they were shooting on wherever this picnic was, which is a wonderful park, with a river down it and a bridge over the park. And then there's
I think I have like the watermelon. I have this.
yeah,
That's
he
fun.
goes to help out, and he's always got his sleeves rolled up or the shirt off or something. They give him a suit coat to wear for a minute, and he takes it off because it's his. He goes, my chest is, my shoulders are just too big. It doesn't fit in the suit. And the ladies are like, well, you can take it off. That's fine. And go to the next. What else do you have? This is the picture you liked. It looks like a Monet painting.
Yeah, it looks like a Monet painting. I mean, when I saw this, I then searched for so long to find a higher resolution. So this is the best I could do. But even look at the background where it has that little waterfall back there, like, and the guy sitting on the sides, and this is like picture of American life. It's just so beautiful.
It really, I mean, and it again, so many background.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's 150 people back there.
They populated this whole park deep into the background, and the atmosphere, it's just wonderful. And the color, very kind of controlled Midwestern color palette, nothing too loud or garish, right?
Yeah. I mean, even in that house, where's that house? It's all, I mean, there's pattern and everything, but it's all monotone. Look at the curtains are the same as the wallpaper, and yeah, a lot going on, but it's subtle. But I saw this and I thought, oh man, I gotta watch this.
Yeah.
Look at the cakes.
So just a little. So Milziner did the Broadway show, and had done a ton of Broadway shows. He did the Broadway show of This Picnic. He did Guys and Dolls, the Broadway show. He did South Pacific, King and I, and Can. He was. Look at that picture of the bridge. That's just amazing.
That's crazy.
He was the busiest. Like when he went to LA to do this, he had 9 shows running on Broadway, which was amazing. He didn't want to go out. Josh Logan said, "You got to come out. I need you." And he goes, "You just be there 3 weeks, and you'll make $13,500, which is, a lot, in those days." And so he met the production designer, the local art director, and the local art director's like, "What are you going to do?" Like, "I'm the art director. What are you going to do?" And he goes, I'm going to learn from you guys. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about credits or anything. I just want to learn how you do movies and whatever. And he goes, "So where's my drawing table?" They're like, "No, you can't have a drawing table. You can't do drawing. We have a whole team, art department can do drawings." He goes, "Well, that's how I communicate. I do drawings." And so then the union sent out a rep to say, "What are you doing here? You have to join the union." He goes, "Look, I'm going to be here 3 weeks, and I'm going to go back to New York, and you'll never see me again." So they said, okay, and they set him up in an office away from the art department. And he drew, and they go, "You can only show your sketches to the director. Nobody else can see your sketches."
Oh my God, what is this so weird?
Because they didn't want, non-union people working in the union. And by the way, the New York union was just as weird.
Yeah.
It was just as strict. So the producer, intervened. They gave him a drawing table. He did drawings for a few weeks, probably, a lot. All the interiors were shot in, I think at Paramount. It was a Columbia Pictures.
Let's see.
I don't know where they were. I don't.
They
don't know.
Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers. Mm-hmm. And so then in the last few days, they went to Kansas, and he was with them scouting all the and then he went back to New York, and he wasn't involved in any of the, the rest of it was just done by the William Flannery, who was their art director and the set decorator.
I have a book of Joe's work. It's one of the first books I ever got about production design, and it's in my office, and I don't have it. You know what I mean? Like, it's packed up with my office, so I couldn't look at it when I saw that he was doing this. And I was
Yeah,
like, damn
I
it.
looked at that's where this information is.
Oh,
They go
oh,
into the
yeah,
um they talk a little bit about the play when he did the play. It's a very simple set. It was just the two houses. They don't go to, they don't this goes all over. The movie really moves around,
right.
and this picnic out in this big park is just fantastic. And she comes down in the boat, the queen, it comes down in the boat and everybody cheers. She comes under the bridge. It's really kind of wonderful. And then everything spirals out of control.
Yeah,
Everything
this looks
goes,
bad.
yeah. That's
this, this is like a drunken night.
that's the next morning. He's cleaning all the slime off of his boots because he ends up going with Alan's date with Kim Novak, and they go off together. The little girl gets drunk,
Oh,
and they blame Hal, but it really wasn't Hal's problem. It was this guy brought the booze, and when they weren't looking, the little girl drank, and got sick, and they blamed William Holden, and so he gets pissed and he leaves, and Kim Novak goes with him. He goes, "You don't want to come with me," and she goes, "Yes, I do." And
mm,
so they get together. They're somewhere by the train tracks and the river, and because of the codes, you couldn't show them making love. But the whole idea is,
they're in there.
this was the night that her boyfriend wanted. It was like finally the night. It was the third date.
Right, right.
It's like, I want to find out if you're the one I want to be with. And anyway, she's with William Holden. They just hug, and I think you have this picture where they're just in an embrace. This picture,
Yeah, it's
they don't
beautiful.
move, but the train comes chug 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 chugging by and then the horn blasts,
Oh,
and it's just symbolism
yeah,
of they're now making love.
getting it
But all they
done.
do is they can't get any closer than that, and then the train passes, and then you cut to the next
She puts her
morning or
clothes
whatever.
back on.
He takes her back home, and he's like, "Oh, how are you going to get back in the house without them seeing you, da da da."
And then she's there
And she
sneaking in.
sneaks in, and she talks to her sister, is like, "I'm so sorry, I really can't believe I said what I said." She hates her older sister for being pretty.
Mm.
No, says she's pretty.
It's funny
And
because I don't know who this actress is, but in some of the pictures of the younger sister, I kept thinking it was Carrie Fisher.
yeah, no, it's famous Strasberg, Susan Strasberg.
Oh, oh, oh.
So yeah, so it's like a bad situation, and he leaves town. He goes back to Alan. He returns his car, and Alan is really upset that he stole his girlfriend, and Alan tries to punch him, but William Holden is
Yeah,
bigger and stronger, and
he's a lot older.
fends him off. Anyway, they've already called the cops on him, and he ends up punching the cops and taking off,
Oh,
and he's got to get out of town, and
he was only in town for like less than a week, huh?
yeah, I mean,
2 days?
on the weekend,
Yeah,
he
weekend.
he shows up on the morning of the picnic.
He shows up in the morning. He gets a job. He befriends this family. Goes to a picnic. He gets a little loving at night, and then he leaves. That's a
He gets
drifter.
chased out. He hops the train out of town, and then she decides that she loves him, and she's gonna go. She hops a bus to find him
That really is the thing with older movies. People fall in love very quickly.
instantly. Instantly.
Instantly.
So one of the I didn't follow through with this, but I made like 3 words to describe
Oh.
each of these shows, and this one was realistic and sexy and sad.
Mm.
It was just kind of sad, but also it's that this has the weird, she's 19, he's 37.
Yeah, there's a lot of older men with young
He's supposed
girls.
to be playing like 26 or
Daddy long
25,
legs. Yeah.
something. He's been bumming around since college, so he's in his mid-20s, but he's 37.
It doesn't seem to bother audiences.
I guess not. Not if you're a big star.
No.
You know, they want you know, it's like Bogart and Bacall.
Yeah.
She was 19, he was
Oh,
50.
here's that. I forgot.
Love
I
this
thought I was
scene.
done. I love that. That is so
You don't realize
good.
the guys are there talking about girls, and the girls over there talking about guys, and they don't realize that they're on either side of this wall, and they can hear each other. And he finally says, "Hey, you better get out of there, or you're going to get some educating."
Yeah. I like that. At first, funny enough, I found a shot and it was just the girls' side, and then I found this and I was like, oh, that is fun. That's
Now it
good
makes
design.
sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
now I
fantastic.
get it.
Great,
Yeah.
great. So one of the things that this production designer Joel Milziner did when he was in Hollywood just for 2.5 weeks is he met with the cinematographer, and he actually knew him from decades earlier when the guy was a still photographer. But so they connected, and they talked about Joel Milziner would light all of his own productions. And so he was very consciously aware of color and light, the emotional impact that lighting has. So they had long conversations about color and lighting and skin tone, and everything. They really talked about color palette a lot. And then Milziner left, but this is beautifully shot. There are so many amazing setups, especially in the scenes at the park and between William Holt and Kim Novak, just lit beautifully.
Yeah.
Beautifully lit. So and then they were in this scene for like 30 seconds when he goes back and he returns his car.
Yeah.
And
it looks like a different, I mean, I know this is blown out because I wanted to like get the whole thing here, but it's like, It looks like a different movie.
Yeah, it's the rich guy's dad's den.
Yeah.
And so he goes back and the cops are already there. And then Cliff Robertson takes a swing at him. And then he tries to leave, and Cliff Robertson takes another swing at him and ends up on the ground. And then the cops come in. He's like, I ain't going. They're like, we'll just take, you can sit in the jail. You got nowhere else to go. And he punches the cops out and leaves. And so now he's really in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, naughty. Gotta get out of town before you get in jail, buddy. That's Drifter 101.
So yeah, very, very naturalistic in the acting style and in the the decor.
I thought the house looked great. Like just
looks
little
great.
Niches
It's simple, not overdone.
Little storytelling,
like that Midwestern kind of spare, modest color, controlled color palette. Obviously, the thing to stand out here is the dress, and so everything is kind of, down from that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's palette versus like they have the pattern of the sofa or the subtlety of the wallpaper, but then even those curtains are subtle but have pattern. Like
it's is it the sofa fabric? It might be.
Oh, maybe. Well, yeah. Oh, maybe. Yeah. Up top, I think you're right. Yeah. I mean, on the legs too, but I can see it on top. Yeah.
And then look at the graffiti there, like old, scratched, and then the public. I guess this is after they're swimming before they go to the picnic.
It's like their changing room.
The changing room, yeah.
Public changing. Oh man, that's a lot of people.
And this won the Oscar.
Yeah, this is our winner. Color
which is
was
really interesting that it's kind of very naturalistic and real, and there's no, I mean, the picnic is a real showpiece, but it's really all about, there's some string lights,
right,
and just the
right.
way the people are everywhere. I mean, he didn't win for the watermelon contest, or there's a band that's playing, there's a dance scene. It's very sort of minimal. They're like across the river, they're dancing, and
Mm.
that's where all the bad stuff happens. They're sort of dancing in away from the picnic, and the school teacher Rosalind Russell she's the one sitting on the couch in this bottom picture,
Yeah.
and she's the old maid school teacher, and she gets drunk and wants to dance sexy with William Holden, and she
Mm.
tears his shirt off,
Oh, girl.
and she's drunk, and then the little girl gets sick, and then Rosalind Russell's angry at William Holden and says, he did it, she's awful, she's
She's
awful.
a
That's what makes it sad, is she's just incredibly sad in
oh.
this movie, and they don't have a dad. The dad left the mom,
Oh,
with two
man.
girls, and she had to raise her two girls, and everybody's just, the mom really wants Kim Novak to go with the rich guy, go with Cliff Robertson, get married. You'll be the wife of the richest people in town. Your life will be set.
Right.
Don't go off with this drifter with no money, who is a braggart, and he gets in fights, and he's gonna, not be nice to you. So,
Yeah. It's
uh,
it's slice of American life.
yeah. So it's a little sad. I mean,
Yeah.
but and I think it's odd that it won. Oh, do I have to talk about this now too?
Yeah.
This is the last one, right?
But it is, considering, I don't know, I kind of think it's odd that it's 1-2, but let's talk about,
Yeah.
because
So this
is
I
what
watched
everybody
this
knows.
I watched this first because I also had this,
Mm.
because I had a little Alfred Hitchcock DVD collection box set, and this was in it.
I've had this poster for years.
I just love this movie, and I've seen it several times, but I probably watched it 3 times when I started this, and I watched it first, and I went, you know what? I can't watch each of these movies 3 times.
Oh my God, no.
But I really got into this, and this is the same decorator as Rose Tattoo, by the way. Arthur Kramps was on this. I noticed that.
It's crazy how, and these aren't done next door to each other. That's not like.
This was done at Paramount.
Well, but some of it was done in
most of it was done in South France.
They went to
the South France
Monaco and
yeah. Do you want to do your intro on this?
Yeah. So the production designer Hal Perina and Joseph McMillan Johnson, set decorator Samuel L. Comer, and Arthur Kramps. It's a Hitchcock classic, but a retired jewel thief sets out to prove his innocence after being suspected of returning to his former occupation. I love this movie.
Just fantastic. I mean, I like it because of all the rooftops. That whole, that's all very soundstagey thing, and it was all built. But the south of France, they went there, they scouted all these locations, they got all these fantastic, brilliant locations. That, however, looks like it's it
looks like a combo, but up top he's there. But
the top there's on the Riviera, there's Monaco, and all those driving scenes are just fantastic.
Yeah.
The great scene of him in the bus with Hitch.
Mm-hmm.
He just pans over. He doesn't really look at him. He just looks sort of past him.
Yeah.
Over his, and that's the reveal on that. But this was their Vista Vision, so super widescreen.
Yeah.
And the color. Love this picture on the rooftop with Roby looking down over the ball, sort of at the end of the ball. And then on the right, you're looking over the shoulders to the camera guys.
Right.
And seeing the setup. So this was all done back at the studio in the Paramount, this whole
Mm-hmm.
ball scene. Because I've seen another picture of this, which is looking up at them, and basically the soundstage walls are just right behind them.
Oh wow.
They're right up against the soundstage walls. So this was probably took up a whole soundstage to do this ball
Do I
scene
have it?
because
Yeah.
there's big backdrop and greens and you know the whole entrance through the the villa. Um,
Yeah, because
Costumes
look.
wonderful. I just it was fantastic. So this movie is just so luscious and elegant, and it's got suspense. The sets, when you're in the hotel rooms, they're pretty straightforward. They're in that sort of Hollywood gray,
Yeah.
and then they're wonderfully appointed, decorated. It's all very tasteful and upscale. And his house, I think he had a picture of his house.
Yeah, in the very beginning. Right. Well, is this? This looks like a hotel room too.
No,
Maybe I don't.
that's in a hotel room,
Yeah.
I think.
Maybe I
Yeah,
don't.
or an office. But he lives in this villa, and it's the whole interior is all like white stucco with this staircase. Um, you see all those rooms? They're just kind of that Hollywood gray,
Yeah.
and then bring in the drapes and the decor but it's all very elegant and you're supposed to be looking at there's a great shot of
Yeah.
his villa, the interior of his villa. Very little screen time. He does sit out on the balcony on his terrace, and he has a meal with the insurance agent who he kind of befriends. But I just love this set. I think they're either at the insurance agent's office or at the police department.
But again, they're all the same. They're all the same tone.
All the same tone. I think this lower guy, that's the police inspector.
Yeah, this is
Interestingly, they had to dub a lot of the French actors.
Oh, that
They had
guy.
a lot of because this guy couldn't speak a word of English.
Oh wow.
He couldn't even read it off a cue card phonetically. It was so bad.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was kind of odd. I just so this art director also did Rear Window. Cinematographer also did Rear Window. So this was a group of people that had worked together with Hitchcock, and so they kind of knew Hitch's way, and I think they went on to do like Vertigo and other things. But I just thought it was just super elegant, suspenseful, and just sexy, and I loved their conversation, their dialogue. So this is another one of those moments, where there's a scene where they're sitting on that couch, and
Do I have that? I don't think I have
they're making out, they're kissing, but the fireworks are going off in the background.
Yeah, that's the
and
best
of course
scene.
that's the stand-in for sex.
Yeah.
Because they can show it, and they didn't even want to let them do that. The code people, they didn't want to let them have that scene, and Hitchcock just picked a piece of music that wasn't like music that it was just a little bit more like comedic or playful, orchestral, but it wasn't like sex music. It was like fun music. So they kind of put a comic edge on it, and they sold it to those what do you call the
ratings.
Ratings people. They let them get away with that. But I do love, Hitchcock started out as an art director, and I'm sure he dictated this rooftop, these rooftop scenes where he would climb on these rooftops, and there's all the shadow play and hiding behind chimneys and it's just really it's just fantastic. I think that Go Back One shot that I think was shot in the south of France. They said there was one kind of interior hotel scene that was shot in the south of France, but otherwise it was all just exteriors, like the upper picture was shot in the south of France, and all these There's a big
Monotone.
parade scene. There's the funeral scene. The driving scenes were done with background people, and then when you cut to them in close up, it was that rear projection,
Yeah.
classic projection look. This was done in L.A. in at Paramount. He goes to the restaurant, which is where his old guys from the underground, and they were also
Like
thieves back
yeah.
then. They all work at a restaurant now, and he goes back to say, "Hey, just want you to know, I promised you I wasn't going to go back to cat burglary, and it's not me who's doing it." And they don't believe him.
Yeah.
They think he's the cat burglar.
So it's funny because it is so cat and mouse. Like he has to change, instead of being the mouse, he has to become the cat to try to
find out who's doing it.
Yeah. It's great.
To clear his name.
Yeah.
Clear his name, and it's and he gets the insurance guy involved to say, "You tell me who the people are with the most jewelry, the most expensive jewelry, and give me a list of what all that jewelry is and where they're staying."
Yeah.
But I'm not the thief.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's in her hotel room. Yeah, I didn't do it, but I'm glad you told me it's all there. Oh, there's that scene. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I like how you can see where the walls stop.
You see it from this angle, and you go, how did they shoot that totally romantic, sexy...
Yeah, with Hitchcock staring down her throat. He was so in love with her.
A dozen guys just looking right at you.
Well, nowadays, it's 3 times as many people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and look at that. They have on the right, you can see that they've lifted up the sofa because the feet don't hit it's on
because it's too low.
Yeah, it's too low. Yeah, it happens.
We got to lift it up. We got to
get it onto some apple boxes.
And it's so tight because look, there's like a little corner of a set behind them. All the rest of the set is pulled away.
Yeah.
The room, it's just a little bit of a set.
So great. I love behind the scenes stuff. I love this movie because of the lighting. The lighting is so effective in the emotion of like her falling in love with him and the suspense of it and the green and like you said, like the fireworks and yeah. But yeah, his set's most interesting. Like, what is that? That's crazy.
It's just this great villa. I saw a picture. They picked this villa. It was a great little story that I think it was on the DVD. They picked this amazing villa they all loved, and then they brought Hitch. When Hitch showed up, they said, "Oh, we want to bring you to this villa. We love it." And they get there, and it's completely fogged in. You can't see anything. And Hitch is like, "Nope, not going to do it." And they're like, "Well, listen, the fog is going to lift. We can go back when the fog lifts." And so they go on, they look at the other alternatives, and Hitch picks one that he likes, and they go, "Oh, the fog is lifted at the other place. Let's go back." And he goes, "Nope." And so they picked their second choice exterior, but it they said that the production designer said it was actually it ended up being a better location for them. Yeah. And but I just loved this set, and it was not on camera for very long. It was very elaborate,
It's funny, like look at the
interior.
Yeah, the wall textures and everything is so intriguing, but look at the shadow it has up on that top wall because of the lighting. Or I guess there's supposed to be windows on the fourth wall.
And high windows.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that the sunken living room where you walk and you step down, and those steps it really feels like it's a house in the south of France. Look at that. Yeah. Everything is concrete plastered, it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
I really loved this movie. It was elegant, it was suspenseful, it was titillating, the conversation, just the tease between Roby and Grace Kelly, there was just that romance was just fantastic. I like this movie the best.
As far as production design?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it was half locations, and so they're fabulous, half locations, but I'm going to say that I take that too because they chose all those locations. I really liked it. I mean, I liked it more than Picnic, and I liked it more than Guys and Dolls. I mean, Guys and Dolls was a huge design undertaking.
Yeah.
This, I think, just works better.
Well,
I just like it. I just like it.
it's
I like
very
it.
it's sometimes it's very hard when you compare musicals to just straight films because they have the advantage of being a little bit more whimsical sometimes, or you get away with things. I would have to say either this or Daddy Longlegs for me, design wise, is a better winner. But I didn't see Picnic, so it's kind of hard to say. But Daddy Longlegs was pretty brilliant in its fantastical design, and
It looked amazing. The
yeah.
pictures that you had, I have to watch that now. It certainly looked. Uh, I like it's looked more than the look of Guys and Dolls.
Yes, from the pictures I saw, I would say
Yeah,
it definitely wins over Guys and Dolls.
yeah.
And the thing with To Catch a Thief is that it's such a classic movie, and you've seen it. At least, I mean, I've seen it so many times that maybe that's why I think it's a better design film because it works for me. And
It works. Yeah.
so I don't know, but let me just tell you this: what wasn't nominated?
Uh-oh.
Rebel Without a Cause, Oklahoma, The Virgin Queen, Summertime, 7 Year Itch. I mean, those are films that came out that year that I thought, wow,
Unbelievable.
those that's some heavy competition there that wasn't nominated.
Oklahoma wasn't nominated?
Yeah. Isn't
And
that
that was in the same year as Guys and Dolls, and wow.
yeah. Rebel Without a Cause too.
Probably without a cause.
Summertime. I mean, East of Eden came out that year.
Wait, Rebel Without a Cause and East of Eden were in the same year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Um Queen Bee. I don't know. Queen Bee is Joan Crawford, right?
I don't
That's
know that
black and
movie.
white. That's a really good movie. That's a really good movie. Yeah. Oklahoma. I mean, because for cinematography, for color, it was To Catch a Thief, Guys and Dolls, Love is a Many Splendor Thing, A Man Called Peter, I don't know that one, and Oklahoma. And then for black and white, the winner was Rose Tattoo, Blackboard Jungle, I'll Cry Tomorrow, Marty, and Queen Bee. So, I mean, there were some.
Queen Bee. Wait, Queen Bee.
Queen Bee, yeah.
The,
With black and white.
those were the nominees for best picture.
No, that was for cinematography for black and
Oh,
white.
cinematography.
Best picture was Marty, which won. Love is a Many Splendor Thing, Mr. Roberts, which I don't know, Picnic, and The Rose Tattoo.
Interesting.
So that was a big year. Really a lot. I mean, I love 7 Year Itch, I guess, design wise, but I don't know. Where was that?
Oh. Well, this was fantastic.
Oh,
This
good.
was a lot of fun to do. I'm gonna watch the movies on your list, the ones that I didn't see.
Yeah.
I really want to see Daddy Longlegs. Yeah,
I'm glad
and
you
I've never
enjoyed it.
seen Marty. I've
Oh,
always
yeah.
wanted Marty.
Do Marty. It's so quick.
Yeah.
It's seriously like maybe 90 minutes. It's really quick and it's such a sweet film. But yeah, I loved watching them all because I just feel like I'm just getting a plethora of research, and I just love watching all the films. And I definitely feel like I want to watch Picnic, especially since you said it was sad. Like there's some emotion there, like it's just not some corny picnic movie. And I'm glad it wasn't a musical.
Yeah, no, it's great, and then Kim Novak is 19. She just looks amazing. She
Yeah.
just got, and you know, she's the prettiest girl in town,
Yeah.
and she's not happy, you know, with the guy that she's with, who's like the you know, the local, you know,
Yeah.
hotshot
Yeah.
rich kid.
Well, it happens.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is a really good movie. I just it's interesting that it won for color production design. It's, I guess it's very naturalistic and subtle, and it achieved its goals really without calling attention to itself.
Mm,
It's just like you just felt like you all the sort of the locations and the locales, you really felt like you were there, and that it wasn't you weren't being manipulated. It wasn't there was no it didn't feel artificial at all.
do you think they could, of mine, I mean, they could almost make Rose Tattoo, Alcrediamar, Marty, they could make those today and enhance them, I feel like. I don't know, but black and white is hard to do if you're going to do it in color and still invoke that emotion. But I mean, they could redo Daddy Longlegs and Splendor Thing, and no one would catch a thief, but
No, you can't redo that. Now here's the deal.